Okay. I don't have any chair's announcement. Has anything come up since we last spoke?
No announcements, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Item 3, any members' declarations of interest? No? Thank you. And the minutes, item 4. Karen, I'll let you introduce this one.
Yeah, the minutes of the last meeting held on the 3rd of September. I think all three of you were at that previous meeting as well. Could somebody move them, please?
I'll move them.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. Item 5, to note any items which the chair has agreed. I don't think there's anything there, have we?
No urgent items.
No. Exclusion of the public and press. We're on YouTube. Okay. So we'll go on to item 7, internal audit progress report. Who will be delivering this, please?
That's Julie Cousins from Wakefield.
Julie, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. So my name is Julie Cousins. I'm the Principal Audit Manager at Wakefield Council, and I'm presenting our update report to you today on behalf of Jason Brooke. The purpose of this report at agenda item 7 is to provide assurance to this committee that all audits in the plan are scheduled to commence from January 2021, and the timing of this work ensures that the audit work is completed to allow for the assurance opinion to be provided in the summer of 2021 and gives us maximum coverage for audit testing purposes. The report also details the findings from our latest internal assessment on conformance with the public sector internal audit standards, which determines that the internal audit function continues to generally conform to standards, which is the highest rating. Paragraph 6.3 gives details of the assessment process and is also summarised at the appendix to this report. The report also gives members the opportunity to determine whether there should be any changes to the audit plan to take account of any new or emerging risks, and gives members the opportunity to comment on the Quality Assurance and Improvement Programme Action Plan, which is attached at Appendix B of the report. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chair.
No. Anybody, any questions?
No, no.
Sorry?
I said no, I've got none.
Okay, right, thank you then. Anything else you'd like to add to that, Julie?
No, there's nothing else from me, Chair, if you're okay with that, thank you.
Yes, we're all happy with that, thank you very much.
Thanks.
So item 8, risk management framework. Who will be delivering this, please?
That's Susan.
That's myself, Susan, Chair.
Okay, welcome, Susan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the risk management framework was initially revised quite significantly and approved by members back in July 2019. So this is an annual review, just a little bit late. The changes that we have made are identified at 5.3. So the financial levels in figure 3, we did review those as management team, but we felt that they were still appropriate, so we've kept those as they are. Figure 4, the scores have been reviewed, and that is the main change. I think we reported at the last committee that we had increased the score on the financial risks to an overall score of 20. And at the time of preparing this report, that was still appropriate because we were forecasting a revenue deficit for this financial year. Since this report was sent out to you, and you will have seen this if you've looked at the papers that you just received yesterday, I think, for the main Joint Services Committee next year, the revenue forecast for this year has improved significantly, and at the moment we're projecting a surplus. That's largely down to some areas of income improving, but also the availability and our ability to access a government fund around lost income for COVID-related income losses, which you'll all have been able to access through your own local authorities as well. And I'm grateful to Neil and his colleagues for facilitating that for us. However, the position for next year is still uncertain, and there are still challenges financially for next year in the budget. So at this stage, I would suggest that score remains at the 4 and 5 in terms of the probability and impact, and at 20, but we'll keep that under review. So those are the only changes to the risk management framework. The other area that I would ask members just to have a review of and to consider is the risk appetite statement. And in that, you will see that there is a table on page 2 of the risk appetite statement, about halfway through your papers, and that indicates certain types of generic risk categories. So there's a breach of legal and regulatory requirements, and in the past you've indicated your appetite for that is very low. There is a general risk category of reputational damage, and again you've indicated that your risk appetite for that is very low. There is financial and commercialization risk, and previously you indicated your appetite for that was moderate at a 3 out of a score of 1 to 5. The general risk of fraud and corruption, again, very low at 1, and for transformational change at 4. So again, I would just ask members to affirm that they're still happy with those scores on that risk appetite, or whether they'd wish those to change. And I'm happy to take questions, Chair.
So first of all, members, are you happy with what Susan's put forward there, or does anybody like to put any changes forward? Are we all
No, I'm happy.
Okay then, thank you. Okay, Susan?
Yeah, okay with that.
Thank you, Councillor Wallace. Okay, Susan?
Yeah.
Right, we'll move on to item 9 then. Review and challenge of strategic risks.
Okay, so I've already referred to these in the previous report. So this is the review of risks. There are the strategic risks and the operational risks in there, because members have previously indicated that they would wish to see the operational risks. Obviously, as our management team, we review those regularly, and we have recently been reviewed those, and obviously they are updated in terms of responsibilities as well. As officers change, then we change the responsibilities for those risks, and I've already indicated to you that the main financial risk, the corporate risk CSO2 there, we've indicated that should remain at 20, and we'll review that potentially after the budget setting process early in the new calendar year to see whether hopefully we should be able to reduce that, because clearly that's a score that is uncomfortably high for us at present. Happy to take any questions, Chair.
Thank you. Anybody, any questions or comments to Susan?
No.
Okay, we did discuss this at the pre-meeting. Okay, so item 10, annual governance statement, action plan.
Yes,
please?
That's myself again, Chair. So this is the annual governance statement action plan for the 1920 annual governance statement. It's in the format that you have seen previously, and again the highlights, the changes are highlighted there to you. Just mention a few of those. Things like performance indicators, and assurance statements, they're very much reliant on us agreeing a 3-year service plan, and obviously it's very difficult to do that, as we've discussed before, until we have a budget for next year and beyond, and some of that will be discussed next week in the briefing to members after committee. Some positives there at action 2, the quality system. I was happy to report last time that we got our renewed 3-year accreditation after the inspection visit in July. We've done a lot of work. David Strover's leading on this and done a huge amount of work to get that quality manual in a better shape and a better format onto our SharePoint, and that gives it is much more accessible to our staff, and obviously that's good news, because that makes sure that correct documentation is always used. So we're nearly complete with that. I think the other good piece of news is at action 3, Our IT support officer is doing some fantastic work in getting some better workflow systems that implemented in archaeology and will be complete shortly in calibration. And again, that just enables efficiencies in 2 income generation areas, which really will benefit from that hugely. Action 5, Brexit. I think we'd all like to know what's happening with Brexit. We are in receipt of various updates. Our local authorities keep us in touch with that. We're in touch with OPSS. However, we are experiencing an upturn in requests for advice, mainly from business through to our training standards department, and we expect that to continue into the next year and beyond as we try and support business to be compliant in the new post-Brexit arena. So definitely one to watch there. And last one, Action 9, IT provision. Obviously, I've reported previously that our current arrangement and SLA with Leeds is due to end in March 2021 or be reviewed, and I have started discussions with Leeds about the provision of that post March 21, again subject to any outcome of the governance review that will be considered in due course. I'm happy to take questions, Chair.
Thank you, Susan. Anybody, any questions or comments to Susan? No? I think...
No.
Okay. The IT issue, definitely, that needs raising. Okay then, so we'll move on to item 11, the post-audit statement of accounts. Who'll do that, please?
That's Michelle Wilson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Karen. I think I've got some slides to come up, Nina, if you be...
Would you just like to introduce yourself, Michelle, please?
Sorry, it's Michelle Wilson. I'm the finance manager at the Morley site.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the purpose of this report is to present the statement of accounts for 1920 to the subcommittee for approval. A summary of the accounts was provided at the meeting on the 3rd of September, and the accounts have now been reviewed and certified by the Section 151 officer. The income and expenditure statement is on page 8 of the statement of accounts. Gross expenditure was at 8.7 million and income was at 4.6 million. The interest earned was 17,000. Funding received from district remained at a standstill position, and the overall year-end outturn was a deficit of 83,000. Could I have the next slide, please? The balance sheet showing the assets and liabilities is presented on page 9 of the statement of accounts. The long-term assets, property, plant and equipment is now at 172. Current assets is 1.7. Debtors has reduced by nearly 1 million to 756 compared to 1.7 million in 1819, and this is relative to closing the laboratory and materials testing services as the debtor payments caught up. The creditors has increased due to the termination costs relative to closing the 2 service areas, and reserves is now at a position reduced from 920 to 838. Could I have the next slide, please? So just to show the figures in the reserves at the moment. So there's 83,000 deficit on income and expenditure account. Depreciation was 51,000. The overall movement was 32,000. The closing balance for cash was at 666. The non-usable reserves is at 172. So the total reserves is 838. Thank you, Chair. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Michelle. Anybody, any questions or comments on that?
No questions.
No? Okay, Michelle, anything else?
No, thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So we're now, we're done, aren't we? Are we on date and time of the next meeting on this agenda? Have I got the correct agenda?
Yes, that's the correct agenda, Chair. The next meeting is scheduled for the 4th of March.
Okay, has anybody any other business they'd like to raise?
No, thank you,
No,
Chair.
thank you.
No, well, I think myself, we definitely need to get this sorted out, because I do not feel comfortable sat looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 blue shapes in front of me when the meetings, and having them all day, all the rest of them, even that are on YouTube, they're live, we can see, and it makes it much better than just looking at pictures. And also, like Michelle, who I've not, I don't think, before, so met before or seen before. So I think we need to look into that. Susan, we need to definitely. I shall raise that with the IT.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I've had some discussions with Andy Jodman about it to see whether Leeds can support on, because I think there's been some concerns from yourselves in Leeds about whether we could support Teams or Zoom, but we're struggling with that one at the moment.
Yes. Okay then. Well, thank you everybody for attending and for getting in. So we'll see.
Thank you.
Next.
Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
everybody.
Take care. Bye then.